are you?
Oh, dear girl. I'm Claude. Jean-Claude.
Cut! I'm waiting for you.
No! Go ahead. No! See, I speak your language.
Oh my god, I laugh every time. Hello everyone, I'm Jean-Claude Messick, and welcome to this evening's Wacky Woo Show. With me, of course, is the lovely Penny Kelly. You can find her at pennykelly.com, as well as Jason 4. You can find him on his Patreon at patreon.com/Jason 4. Joe, Penny, welcome back to the show, guys. How are you?
Thanks, good.
Oh, really good. A little hoarse, but other than that, good.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. I know you have better things to do, like watching the Super Bowl. So thank you. We appreciate you guys being in the chat here tonight. People are asking me earlier, it's like, JC, the Super Bowl is on tonight. I'm like, really? I don't know. I never watched that stuff. So
I know. I kind of forgot it for a while. It's like, oh yeah, it's tonight.
And I'm like, I'm curious. You guys actually watch the Super Bowl? What are you guys talking about? Anyways, thank you for being on here tonight, guys. Quite a few things we want to get through this evening with you guys. I wanted to start, of course, with Penny Kelly and her latest look-see to see kind of where we're going here into the month of February. If you look at the latest WebBot data report that Cliff High put out in the last couple of days on his Substack, it very much looks like February is going to be one hell of a rock and roll month. So let's start with you, Penny. And guys, in the live chat, let me know where you guys are watching from this evening. Really cool to see you all here. And thank you so much for being here this evening. Penny, the microphone is yours. Where do you want to start?
Okay. Hi. So a couple things. The latest look-see actually is not out yet. I'm working on it. But there's a couple things that I wanted to share. I was working on it over the last few days. And like I was saying before the show, yesterday was laundry and dishes and all kinds of stuff. And so I get to 1:30 in the morning, which is a little later than I usually go to bed. And I was too tired to work on the look-see anymore, but I really wanted to get some more information for tonight. So I'm climbing into bed and I say to the universe, okay, guys, wake me up in the middle of the night and give me some information. Give me some insight. What's some look-see info? And I really wasn't all that serious, but at 3:33 a.m., I get waked up and I hear this voice say, do you still want that look-see information? And I was like, oh, I guess so. So I get my paper and my pencil and I lay back down thinking, I'm probably going to drift off to sleep. They aren't probably going to have anything interesting. And it starts right out with, look at Mexico. And what I saw was that the Mexican troops on the border had engaged with, I think, some of the cartel people. The cartel people took some hostages from the U.S. side of the border, and it was a little bit rough to see that. But they wanted those hostages in order to use them as bargaining chips. And so then I asked, okay, what have they got? What are they bargaining for? They don't have a leg to stand on. And the answer was that they wanted a piece of land, a chunk of land that they could call their own. And it was a little bit of Mexico and a little bit of the U.S. And they wanted to have a spot where they could conduct their business. And I don't know that they have any kind of business that I would be interested in, but maybe they have dreams for something beyond drugs and trafficking. Who knows? So That was the first thing I saw. And at that point I thought, okay, I guess I better sit up and write this down. And so that was the first thing I saw. And then, boom, 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 like 22 other things unfolded. So I'll just share a couple of those.
Before you get into the 22 things, is it normal for you to be woken up at 3:33 this
No.
week? And I'm asking that because Janine and I haven't slept pretty much all week. We all have that same kind of weird thing where we're either up at 3 or 4 a.m. and can't sleep anymore. So it's been like that all
Oh,
week. And I did another show on this on Tuesday, and a lot of people in the audience were saying, "Yeah, we have the same thing. We can't sleep, or we're waking up, tossing and turning all night." So there appears to be weird energies also. So I was wondering why the 3:33 for you this time around, and if that's normal for you.
no, that's not normal at all. And I couldn't go back to sleep until 6:30, so I didn't have a whole lot of sleep last night, which is, I think, why I'm kind of hoarse.
And
Really.
22, there's our number. You got 22 downloads. I always
Oh,
get that
yeah.
22. That's my big number. So that's interesting.
Oh, yeah,
And
you're
you know
right.
the VIP room at the Beyond Mystic conference is room 22. It's called like you can't make this stuff up.
Okay.
It's gonna be cool. All right, let's get into the 22, Penny.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go through all of them. This is kind of a sneak preview.
Okay.
But one of the things that I saw was that there was a big breakthrough in science. Something that was, I guess you would call it secrets revealed. It was something that the cabal or the people that have been hiding it have known for decades. And when I asked, okay, what is it related to? I didn't get any answer. So then I said, well, what part of the body? And they said the colon. And I was like, oh shit. And then it was kind of like, oh, that is the colon. So then I kind of, I said, okay, is it a cancer cure? And there was just this humming noise. And so I thought, okay, I'll just put that cancer cure with a question mark. Because they don't usually bring something up unless it's worth bringing up. So that was one of the things. Another thing was that involved Guantanamo. That was the first word I heard. This was number 6 here. Guantanamo, they were running ads for guards. They were hiring guards for Guantanamo. And as I watched that, thinking, why do they need so many more guards? So they were hiring quite a few, like 200-300. And the answer that I got was that illegals were leaving in a flood, like they were leaving. They heard that people were not being returned to the country they came from. A lot of them were just being taken to Guantanamo, where they became prisoners and ended up working for the federal government from prison. And so a lot of people were fleeing. A lot of people were hiding. Some people were trying to get out of the country any way they could get out. That was like, oh, wow, that I would never have thought of looking at Guantanamo. So that, I think, says that Trump has had enough of a impact with his, we're going to ship people out, that where they might have poo-pooed that or played games with that earlier, nobody was playing games with that. They were scared. People were scared.
Before you get into the other points, Penny, maybe just put a line there on your pad. I want to get Joe to chime in on this. We were having a debate last week on the show also. I think it was in the viewer question. We were looking at this announcement from Trump where he wants to put 3,000 new beds in Gitmo. And presumably, for his press conference, he was talking about the worst of the worst, quote unquote, for the illegal aliens. And we were questioning whether or not that was a cover story for something else, because on one hand, he's deporting all of them. He had this big spat, I think, with Venezuela, who didn't want to take him back. And then he said, okay, I'll tariff you 25%. And within a half an hour, they said, okay, we'll take him back and we'll send us our plane. So it costs a lot of money to house these people. And the debate was in the show, is that code word for perhaps people now who are going to face some type of Nuremberg trials, whether that's for COVID, whether that's for the treason stuff that we're seeing, all the stuff on USA ID also. Let me ask you first, Joe, these 3,000 beds that Trump wants to add to Gitmo, is that for illegal aliens or for something else?
That's my question, because why do we even need Guantanamo Bay for these people? We don't need it. We don't even need it at all. We don't have to send them there. You know, why send them there anyways? Like, you got
Right.
places all over the country you could send them, or prisons or jails or temporary places that they can just quickly deport back. Of planes are coming in, let's go around the clock. You know, it'd be pretty easy. So that's kind of got my eyebrows raised. And I mean, right now, you know, you're reading about, oh well, Biden gave Fauci a blanket pardon, and his name's coming up, of course, again. But the states are going, well, we're going to have our guys look into him.
Mhm.
And there's a difference between a federal pardon and going after someone for the same crimes at the state level.
Right.
Ooh.
So, and it's not just one state. So, again, that might be a prime candidate to go over there. And I remember someone had sent Tori some information, and I was like, "Hey, did you know that we're spending? You know, it was a large amount of money, either $2 or $3 million. I don't know if it was a month or a year. Yeah, and it's 30,000, but it's not 3,000.
Yeah.
For Fauci's federal police, whatever, protection." And I'm going, don't be upset about that, because people are like, why are we spending this money for his protection? I'm going, wait a minute. How do you know they're not there just following him wherever he goes? Because they're going to get the green light, and they got to make sure he's there. They know where he is at all times.
Right.
To catch his little bastard ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think. I mean, yeah, let's send a few immigrants, illegals, the worst of the worst. Let's send them over there. Okay, yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And I'm going, I don't know about that. And yeah,
But
I
like
think
you
there's a
said,
whole lot
too,
more to that story.
there's more to that story. Okay. So Penny, having said that too, going back to your look-see or your intuition now too, what do you make of these 30,000 beds? Sorry, I think I said 3,000 in the beginning of the show. What do you make of all that?
I'm kind of shocked at the number. I hadn't
Yeah.
read that,
Yeah.
what you just shared there.
Yeah.
I did know that Trump had expanded Guantanamo when he originally, I think, we thought he was going to close it. And so I've assumed that he's going to, that he expanded it because he's going to arrest a lot of people, you know, for whatever reason. And I think about all of those indictments that are kind of sitting in the background. Was there like 435,000 indictments that were sealed that, you know, where'd they go? Are they just sitting there? What are they doing? So I had, when I was looking at this last night, I thought, did he know that these illegals were going to come in, and so that's why he expanded the prison? And that's when I remembered the indictments that were sealed, and I thought, that's a lot of indictments.
Well, while you guys are talking, I had this, like, go search for this. Go search for this right now. So I did.
What?
Can a U.S. citizen lose their citizenship? Yes. Through the process of denaturalization, the government involuntarily takes away a citizen's citizenship, and the citizen may be required to leave the country. I just thought, oh my God, could you imagine these people get tried? Treason, removal of citizenship, you're an illegal, we're taking you to Gitmo.
Yeah. Well, now
I don't know. That thought just came in to go search for that. I didn't know that you could just lose it. Like, they could literally take your citizenship, and it just said that they can.
And you know, for a long time on this question of sealed indictments, some people were doing the paperwork and saying, well, yeah, there's a lot of sealed indictments that have nothing to do with treason or anything like that. You know, many cases of business, espionage, stuff like that, or things having to do with children and stuff like that. Like, they would be sealed by the nature of the information being sensitive type of thing. So it's not necessarily all treasonous cases, but there were a lot of numbers. And a lot of people who are saying that those numbers didn't make any sense were suggesting that, no, it would be impossible to get through that many indictments here in the court system in the United States unless we had, I don't know how many thousands of people working in that system. Well, in the legal system to be able to accommodate that. Well, if this is a big endeavor, putting 30,000 beds in place, that takes a lot of guards too. So clearly here we're talking about big numbers, and it could be matching at least part of those indictments here too. Like, there's a place for it here on our radar somewhere. It could fit. I have to agree with you guys. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Benny, more on that? You want to go to the next point? Where do you want to go?
I'll just say, you know, I'll keep my eye on that because I was really intrigued by that. I thought, oh, wow. That's I don't know how many people are going to end up in Guantanamo or how big it is, just that Trump expanded it. But the impression that I had watching it last night was, man, that's a city all by itself.
Yeah.
So
without the support staff, that's 30,000 people just being contained without the support staff, without the legal staff, without the medical staff. Like, dude, this is a huge endeavor. Well, let me ask the guys for a poll while we're in the live chat here. Yes, do you guys believe this is for migrants, or no? Do you think there's more to the story? Give me a yes or no here in the live chat. I'm curious what you guys think. Okay, Penny, next on your list.
Okay, so then let's see, let me move down a couple more here. I saw a shocking number of accidents, planes, boats, trucks, trains, bridges. I saw a piece of a wing that was broken right off, and I thought that was an airplane wing. And air traffic was slowing drastically. People were just not going anywhere, not by plane, not by train, not by boat, not by car. They were afraid. I just, when I saw that, I thought, well, okay, how many is more? There wasn't any specific number, but the answer that I got again was a shocking number. And so I had the impression that we were just going to keep seeing something every week. And that really disturbed me. It's like, oh, holy cow. I don't want to scare people, but that is pretty scary. I guess there's no way around that. So then, let's see here.
Okay. Going back to the planes and maybe them falling out of the sky. If you watch Clip Substack, I think it was the Spring Offensive. Maybe it was the one, or Chrysalis, one of the two. Anyways, let me bring that up on the slide deck for you guys. He was talking about some slowdown in airline traffic, but I think he talked about July or August. This having to do with the money system, the economy, and the airline industry being on the edge here, having issues on the precursor of economic collapse, as we've seen in history in the past. Now, he did also in another Substack talk about aerial battles to where stuff would be falling on people's homes, and also deep in the mountains, and people would go hiking up there to see what the hell just fell up there. But that seemed to be connected more with the ET component, or some of the contention with either real ETs or some of this blue beam alien invasion type of scenario that they still might want to play out. Let me ask you, Joe, on the blue beam stuff and the ET stuff. Given the UAP conference we saw this year, the fact that Pentagon seems to be priming us for exactly that, where do we think we are on the timeline here to see ETs like falling on our houses type of thing?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I know Trump was like, "Oh, give me one day, and when I get in office, and get sworn in, and I'm going to get to the bottom of the ET thing." And I'm like, "Okay." And then he announced, "Got some guys looking into it," but it's like, "All right, we're past a day or two. Where's the update?" And I remember.
On day one, when he was in the Oval signing executive orders, somebody asked him about that. He says, "Oh yeah, you're right." He asked his chief of staff, "Can you go look into that?" Anyways, and a couple of days later, his press secretary came out with it and said, "Oh, all of these were FAA approved. Nothing to see here. We've got the answer."
Okay, but what were they?
Yeah.
But
I'm like, FAA approved. Dude, you guys scrambled jets over military targets, military bases. It wasn't just New Jersey. There's more, and it was happening in other places in the country, but also in Europe and in Latin America at the same time. So I doubt that these were all FAA approved. And some of them, the way they were talking, do not account for the weird technical components that people were reporting. Even the Coast Guard and the police officers were saying that their anti-drone technology was not working on them. So if it was FAA approved, they would have been told about this. They wouldn't have been using anti-drone technology, all this stuff. So there's a lot of weird things with that story. But keep going, Joe.
Yeah. Governors don't know what it is. Local
shoot them down.
Governments, city governments, we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's authorized drone activity. Yeah. What kind of drone? Military orbs, highly advanced technology, according to Tory. 15,000 miles per hour, anti-gravity type technology. They have AI running them. They can make their own decisions. Like there's not a guy with a little joystick, in a secure location controlling it. It's like, no, it's already programmed to go off and make decisions, according to her. But I don't know exactly why they were out at that time. So, who knows? But
that to me is the real question. Why at that time? Why?
Yeah, there's a lot of activity. Why?
Did you ever pick up, Penny, in some of your look-sees, a threat to the United States? Because some were suggesting also that the Doomsday plane was doing circles. They might have been looking for radioactive material, some type of suitcase nuke, or one of those shipping containers that had disappeared or something. And then we had the reports of the radioactive water also in New Jersey. Did that come up since the New Jersey jumps? Not at all, eh? Okay.
Well, let me say this. When I heard about the Doomsday plane, my instant gut reaction that has nothing to do with the drones, or very, very little, and that it had something to do with what I'm going to call the fight for control of America. And that, I didn't sense any radiation other than the crap they've been spraying for the last 30 years, which is everywhere. And it's pretty serious. And when you read, God, what is the name of the book? It's a free book you can download and read by David A. Hughes. He's got a Substack. And the book is COVID-19 and the War for Technocracy. And holy cow, when you read that, I'm just going to say, if you read that book or any portion of it, or you watch the talk he gave at the Omni War Symposium, which is something that, I watched, kind of attended that symposium online. You need to allow yourself a good week to recover, because it will pull the rug out from under you. That's it. Whoops. That is, he outlines what is happening in terms of technocracy, and it's disturbing. And so ever since that Omni War thing, which was last September, I've had this kind of, my antenna are up, listening, watching. I know that when you are trying to walk a middle road between some seriously opposing factions, and you're trying to take somebody down, you have to pretend that everything is okay. And that, I think Trump is doing quite a bit of that. Talks with this guy, looks like they're good friends. Let's just use Netanyahu as an example. I don't think he's good friends with Netanyahu at all. And I think it really takes a lot out of him to have to go along with that whole thing. But I see something, actually, that was one of the things I saw. Israel either defeat or loses something. Turkey was involved, and it looked like a betrayal of some sort. And Israel was the loser. And I was going to look at that some more, but other information was coming too fast, and so I really didn't look at it. But that stuck out. It's like, oh, wow. So if Trump is walking this fine line, headed toward a particular goal down the road that has he's got certain goals and certain outcomes that he wants to see happen, he can't let on that there's a problem there. And among ETs, I'll say this, you know how when we get a terrorist here, people will say, oh, we can't talk with them. We're not talking with them. They're not legitimate. That is the stupidest. Well, let me say we consider that to be the stupidest position, the most dangerous position you could take. because they're going to keep on pushing and keep on being a troublemaker, a pain in the butt, until they get what they want. And so you have to work with who is available. And we have a saying, you work with what you are, what you have, what you and what you want, and that's how you get through some really tough times that are, would take most people down. You're working with what you are and what you have, and also what's at hand. So whatever tools you have, whoever is willing to talk to you, etc., and you just keep aiming toward the legitimate people, or they become legitimate along the way. And so it's, that's a position that ETs take. Some of the ETs have had to deal with some pretty powerful cabal figures, because that's all that's available to work with. And so that is, that's a problem for people that haven't really thought through what's the option. You ignore somebody and boom, they sneak in and drop a bomb or blow up your car or your bridge or whatever it is. So
when you get into international diplomacy, or in this case, intergalactic diplomacy, nothing is ever black and white, right? So there's all the nuances, and you have to deal with everybody in the nuances. Going back to the book you said about COVID and the technocracy being built behind it, how does that tie into this announcement? A lot of people were freaked out about that, and I'm wondering if you had a chance to look at this, Penny. Trump announcing here the private sector $500 billion investment in AI. A lot of people don't like this, and here too there was this idea of cancer mRNA vaccines to add to the mix, and that triggered a lot of people too. Like, what the hell is Trump talking about here?
Right.
So how does that tie in for you here? Is he playing the game here, pretending as a setup for something else?
Some of it, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a couple factors to keep in mind. So I think the first thing to really be aware of is that, what is it? It's 2025. So 35 years ago, the birth rate on the planet, not just in the US, just dropped into the toilet. We are not replacing our people. And that's called the demographic problem, and everybody is dealing with that. China, the US, etc. So keep that in the background. Now, if you don't have any people, if you don't have enough, you have to maximize the people you do have. And so what are you going to do? You're going to turn to robotics. You're going to turn to making super soldiers so that the people that you do have access to can really, be as effective as 10 men. You're going to turn to AI. You're going to turn to all kinds of experimental things. And you're going to be willing to engage the idea of transhumanism, because you need people. For manufacturing, you need for fighting, you need people. For having babies, you need people. And so they've started to experiment with, we're headed toward the same thing that a lot of ET groups have had a problem with, is how do we get enough people? That's why they love our DNA, because we're so darn resilient. But that's part of what they're doing with that. Now, there are a few people in the world, Klaus Schwab, one of them, Yuval Harari is another one, and a few generals that have said, oh, wow, there was a guy, I think I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this right, Professor Ian Akildazat. He was talking, I think it was him, about the mRNA vaccines, and he said, oh my gosh, we're, thanks to the COVID vaccines, we are moving right toward the what did he call that? The transhuman society. And I was just like, what? There are people who are celebrating that idea. And in another thing that I've been researching and studying at the same conference, the Omni-War Symposium, Lissa Johnson, who has, done all kinds of research and has a master's and doctorates and all that kind of stuff. She was researching, how do you manipulate reality perception? And holy cow, she has some things to share that were really disturbing. And I think that was in her presentation that he spoke. This Professor Akil Dazat, Akyildizat, I think is how you spell it. And the attitude was, we're finally going to have this transhuman society, because it maybe wasn't Akil Dazat that said this, but a couple people said, we need a cure for love. That those people that love, they just get out of control. They are, if we can have, these shots that will allow the tech people to control people's emotions, then we can have some very nice
docile and compliant people.
Well, they call it very suitable relationships.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and so I was like, oh wow, a cure for love. Okay, so I know where they're coming from, and that's not where I'm coming from.
Right.
And so there's a faction that is definitely moving forward. I don't know if the ones that are thinking about and celebrating the idea of a transhuman society are the same ones who are looking at the collapse of the fertility and the demographics. Nobody's being born.
But see, let me get Joan to chime in on this too. I'm getting confused because clearly there has to be many factions at play here. On one hand,
Yes.
they are deliberately trying to kill us. Oh, wait a second. Am I
That's
still
true.
on YouTube? Yeah, I'm still on YouTube. So hold on, guys. Let me give you the link if you guys want to come and join us here on the Rumble feed. We're going to get into a weird conversation here. Hold on.
Okay.
So let me bring this into the live chat. Here you guys. Okay, so guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, I just put the link there in the live chat. Please move over, come and join us on the X feed or on the Rumble feed as well. So let me say goodnight to YouTube. Yes.